And here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this special edition of the Pulse of Ithaca. We've got a great show for you today. I'm Pete, your host, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Mikey Swerves. Today we're coming to you from the headquarters of the GrassRoots Music Festival in Trumansburg, New York. And we've got a very special guest joining us. Tara Nevins of Donna the Buffalo is here to talk all things Culture Camp at the 33rd Annual Finger Lakes GrassRoots Festival. We'll get into the roots of the event, what's new this year, and how Culture Camp continues to bring people together through music, dancing, food, and community. And along the way, we'll get to know a little more about Tara herself and the journey that led her here. Let's get started. Mike, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Pete. It's good to see you.
Good to see you
We're
as well.
on a little road trip up here in T-Burg.
That's right. Tara, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, here we are, Trumansburg, my first visit up here to the headquarters. And
this is a cool building, by the way. I'd never been inside this building, and I drive past it all the time.
yeah, it is really nice. So we're super excited to get into this interview with Tara here in a little bit, but I thought first we'd talk a little bit about some festival news that's going on in the area, talk about the Thursday concert series in downtown Ithaca at the Bernie Milton Pavilion, and you've got a couple other things you'd like to mention as well.
I do. I'd have some shout-outs.
Yeah, let's get into it here. So, Great Blue Heron Music Festival is coming up. I like to refer to it as the sister festival of the GrassRoots Festival. That's happening July 4th and 6th, 2025 at the Heron Farm and Event Center in Sherman, New York.
Where is Sherman, New York?
Sherman, New York is down 86 towards Ohio, and it's in just outside of kind of near Ellicottville area.
Okay.
But it's in Sherman, New York. Yeah, it's about, I'd say maybe a 2-hour drive.
No, it's about three.
About 3 hours from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
straight out 17, basically.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the 32nd annual celebration. It's dedicated to co-founder David Tidquist. There's 4 stages, including the newly renamed David Stage in his honor. They've got the Dragon Stage, the Dance Tent, and the Tiger Maple Stage. Owner and founder Julie Rockcastle is dedicating this year's event to the festival co-founder and local music impresario David Tidquist, who passed away in November of 2024. The Heron's main stage has been officially christened as the David Stage, and there will be a sharing of stories and songs on Friday at the festival. So this year also marks the return of the Tiger Maple Stage, featuring musician-led instrument workshops, an evening maple jam that showcases regional songwriting talent, hosted by Tyler Westcott, and a midnight drum circle on Friday and Saturday. Finger Lakes root rock favorites Donna the Buffalo have long played the role of the Heron House Band and will maintain that tradition with 2 big sets on the main stage, and my personal favorite, an all-night shindig in the dance tent as their alter ego, Buffalo Zydeco.
Yeah.
Other acts include Gymkata, Driftwood, The Rumble, Andy Fresco and the UN, Beats Antique, Ryan Monteblue, Sim Redmond Band, Ithaca locals Max Childs, The New Planets, and upcoming Zydeco sensation Heavy Bone and the Good Time Zydeco Band, who we're also going to check out tonight after recording this show.
We are.
They're playing down at
right down at the bike bar.
Yeah, are you going to join us down there tonight?
I'm trying to, yes.
All right, we'll see.
I always like to go when Jonas is playing.
Absolutely.
He's kind of my godson. So.
Yes, I've seen you down there
Yeah.
as well before for those shows.
But I would go anyway. No, they're great.
Yeah, they are great. All those tickets are available at greatblueheron.com. One of my favorite festivals, much like Shikori Hills, it's in a kind of campground setting. It's in the woods. There's great camping. They have vehicle camping, room for trailers, tent camping in the woods. One of my favorite places, so really looking forward to that.
It's beautiful. They have a really nice pond, too, that you can swim in.
That's right, yeah. It is great. Also, Downtown Ithaca just announced their Thursday night concert series, and they have a whole bunch of shows happening every Thursday from June 5th to September 4th. And from what I noticed this year, it looks like they're doing 2 bands each night, or 2 headliners. Normally it's just 1 band, or maybe they would have a headliner, but it looks like they're expanding it this year. And they're having, I believe it's a longer time period too. I think usually it started at 5 or 6, and now it's starting a little bit earlier to accommodate multiple bands. So really looking forward to that. I won't go through the entire list here, but there's a few that jumped out to me. June 5th, Terrapin Station Band is playing. Our good friend Scuba Jerry are opening.
There you go.
With our good friend Russ here on keys. And what else? Lots of good music. Our good friend Max Childs is also opening up for Noon 15 on July 10th. We've got July 31st, Vicious Fishes and Motherwort.
That's going to be a good one. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like both of those bands a lot.
I think they have something else going on too, Vicious Fishes, don't they?
They have a couple coming up.
Is that the Angry
guys.
Moms?
No, Motherwort's playing.
Oh, Motherwort's playing. Okay, that's the other band that's playing with them in that show.
Yeah.
Okay. And Cast Iron Cowboys is coming up on August 14th, which I'm really looking forward to, with the Rollin' Dust. August 21st, we've got Sim Redmond Band. And closing out things on September 4th is the Fall Creek Brass Band, which seems to be the yearly tradition of them to close that out.
Yeah, I like that, though. Every time I've seen the Fall Creek Brass Band, it's been just like a good party.
Yeah, absolutely. Also a staple at GrassRoots Festival over the years. All right. Anything that jumped out at you, Tara, from that lineup?
That's quite a lineup.
Yeah, it is. They did a good job.
Yeah, no, it's good. Oh, Maddie Walsh is playing.
Yeah, that's right, on June 12th.
She's awesome, yeah, on June 12th. Yeah, no, looks great. Gun Poets.
Absolutely.
On what's that, August 28th are playing.
Yep, the opener there is Big Kulu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's, I see with Maddie Walsh, the Mama Look is opening. They're a new band, kind of just getting together.
Oh, great.
Pretty recently. I really haven't seen them live, though.
Okay.
But I know who they are, and they're all great singers.
Yeah, that's awesome. They do such a good job getting the local talent out there, up-and-coming bands. One of the highlights of my summer, for sure. More information is available about those shows at downtownithaca.com. So check out the website, do some research, check out the different bands on Spotify, find out what shows you want to check out. So, all right. Now that we've run through what's happening around town, let's shift gears. Today on the Pulse of Ithaca, we're joined by a musician, songwriter, and cultural force whose work has helped shape the roots music scene in the Finger Lakes and far beyond. Tara Nevins is a founding member of Donna the Buffalo, a band known for its genre-blending sound, mixing folk, zydeco, rock, and old time, and for creating a true sense of community around the music. Over the past 3 decades, the band has toured across the country, built a devoted following known as the Herd, and become a staple of the Americana landscape. Tara herself is a multi-instrumentalist, playing fiddle, accordion, guitar, and scrubboard, and her songs had carried messages of connection, resilience, and joy to audiences around the world. She's also a solo artist with records that feature collaborators like Levon Helm and Larry Campbell, and she's toured alongside everyone from Jim Lauderdale to members of the Grateful Dead. She's one of the co-founders of the GrassRoots Music Festival and Dance, not just here in Trumansburg, but also in North Carolina, where the Shikori Hills GrassRoots Festival brings the same spirit of inclusivity and celebration to the hills of North Carolina. In recent years, Tara has poured her energy into Culture Camp, a 4-day gathering that leads into the Finger Lakes GrassRoots Festival, bringing people together for music workshops, dancing, shared meals, and community building in the purest form. Today, we're excited to talk to Tara about the road that led her here, the roots that shaped her sound, and how Culture Camp reflects the heart of everything she's helped create. Tara is a lifelong fan of Donna the Buffalo and the Finger Lakes GrassRoots Festival. I'd like to personally welcome you to the Pulse of Ithaca podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Wow, that's a lot of stuff.
Well, you've been doing this
realize
for a
it.
while.
I was just sitting here like trying not to laugh. Oh my God. I was like, really?
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing? Yeah. Yes, I've been pretty busy.
Well, it's,
Oh
yeah.
my God. It's pretty funny.
It is funny. Well, thanks again for joining us.
No, you're welcome.
Before we dive into Culture Camp, I'd like to give our listeners a chance to get to know you a little bit better. You've had such a rich musical journey, from the classical violin to old-time fiddle music to founding Donna the Buffalo. Can you take us back to those early days? What first drew you into traditional music, and what did you discover that still drives you today?
Mm-hmm. I played classical violin in school, and I went, I was always attracted to fiddle music, even though I played classical music. And when I first heard the legendary Willow Circle Being Broken record. That really ignited my interest in traditional music, traditional fiddle music, bluegrass music, old-time music, all of that. And I just sort of started sitting in the back of the orchestra, in between, the conductor talking. While he was talking to the trumpets, I'd be back there sort of trying to fiddle away, I was just always drawn to it. And basically, I met some folks. I went to college, excuse me, allergy time. I met some folks up in college. I went to the Crane School of Music up in Potsdam, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, and I met a bunch of folks who were playing in a string band up there called the St. Regis River Valley String Band. And the female fiddle player, Teresa Broadwell, became my roommate during college. And so we connected, and it was a great connection because we were both violinists, but I was also interested in the fiddle music, so it was a great connection. And so we fast became good friends, and it just sort of between that record and just always being interested in it, and then choosing that college and meeting her and that band, I just kind of left I graduated and kind of left the classical thing behind and just kind of started diving into, traveling to festivals in the South and just to really learn the music, the old-time music,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so did you play in high school?
Yeah, I played violin in high school and
Okay.
then went on to play in college.
And where did you grow up at? Where did you go to high school?
I went to Tappan Zee High School in Orangeburg, New York, which is in Rockland County.
Okay.
Just kind of on the west side of what I still call the Tappan Zee Bridge. I refuse to call it the Cuomo Bridge because
There you go.
Fair enough.
the Cuomo Bridge, because it was always a Tappan Zee Bridge. That was a Dutch settlement, that area, but yeah, that's where I grew up.
Okay.
And so I left home for the North Country when I went to college and never looked back.
Right.
Basically.
And what do you remember about those festivals in the South that you used to go to? What are some of the things that really?
Well, I still go to them. That's
Yeah.
the thing. I've never stopped, and they're just playing the fiddle music. It's a Southern music, Appalachian music style, and there just happened to be many young people like myself that discovered it and really got into it, and started traveling to these festivals. So we all sort of became part of this community. And so we would travel down to the Mount Airy, to the Mount Airy, North Carolina, to the Mount Airy Fiddle Convention, GALAC's Fiddle Convention. And those were just incredible times of just playing just crazy music, crazy wild music, discovery, and just basically sort of led me to where I am right now, I guess.
That's amazing. And at what point did you get led to Ithaca and hook up with Jeb in the early days of Donna the Buffalo?
Yeah, well, the funny thing too is I never thought that I would end up really in Ithaca, New York, or Trumansburg, which is where I am. But when I talked about Teresa Broadwell, who was my roommate in college, how bizarre, just randomly. But it turns out that her brother is Chris Broadwell, who owns a Guitar Works in Ithaca, New York.
Okay.
Who ever thought that I'd end up, in Ithaca, Trumansburg area, and that this Teresa Broadwell, who had been my roommate, what I mean? Her brother is the person that owns the music. Anyway, just connections. Actually, he used to come. Oh, he played in that. I'm talking all about Chris Broadwell now. He played in, what was that band? Southern Tears, right? Country band here in town. Anyway, he was her older brother. He was the cool older brother, that kind of thing. But anyway, life's connections like that are just kind of interesting and random, and unexpected. And likewise, meeting Jeb, and the beginning of all this now, Donna the Buffalo. I ended up, after I graduated, playing with that band that I mentioned, the St. Regis River Valley String Band, just a little bit. And they had a gig here. We had a gig at, there was a live radio show up at Cornell called Bound for Glory.
Okay.
I don't think it's around anymore, but we played there. And Jeb and his brothers and friends were I can't remember. I think they were driving around town looking for something to do, or just sitting around, whatever. The radio was on, wherever they were.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, the Bound for Glory was a live radio show.
Mm-hmm.
So they heard it, they were like, oh, and whenever, if you were part of the old time music community, and still today, if you meet someone who's playing it, or if you hear that, you're like totally, there's a connection immediately, and you're drawn to it and make fast friends and stuff. So they decided to come up to the show. So they came up to the show. I think they got there kind of towards the end, and they came around backstage, and we met, and we went across the street. This was up in College Town.
Mm-hmm.
God, that was a long time ago. And we went across the street to, I think there was a bar called Johnny's Big Red or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we went in there, and that's what old-time musicians always do. We go, okay, let's jam now. Let's play some tunes. So we played a bunch of tunes together, and that was totally the beginning of this whole friendship, all these years with, not, with Jeb's, but of course with all of, he was playing with his, and still does, his string band, Bubba George string band.
Yeah.
And, so we became good friends, and it was months later. I was going down to a Brandywine Music Festival convention, and my friends in the St. Regis River Valley String Band, we came over here in a van, and we made those guys come with us. We made Jeb and some of the Bubba George guys go with us, and that was just kind of, I ended up moving here because we just had such a connection musically, in every way again. And so that's how I ended up, Jeb and I ended up meeting.
That's a fascinating story. I never knew the background on that. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Sure.
And you've been making music with Donna the Buffalo for over 3 decades now, which is pretty remarkable. And from the beginning, the band had its own rhythm, its own way of doing things, blending old-time fiddle tunes with electric music and inviting people to dance, and just creating that warm, open vibe at your shows. How did you go from playing, just the old-time music to playing more of an electric sound, and how did you make that transition? And did you ever think that it would grow into the big crowds and the band and the sound that the band has up to this point?
No, not really. That's the thing about Donna the Buffalo. We just always said we just do what we do, and then it goes where it goes, I guess. But no, I ended up actually playing in a all-female string band called the Heartbeats, and for a long time, and we were very serious, and we toured a lot, and we were part of the same community as with Jeb, and traveling to these festivals all together, and Jeb and I always kind of wrote songs. I had a guitar, and I used to write songs, just, silly songs when I was younger, teenager and all, and that. Jeb and I guess we started, what did we do? Well, I don't know how we did it. I don't know. I was in the Heartbeats, and we were like playing some of these original songs on acoustic instruments along with fiddle tunes. And then Jeb and I, this might have been even earlier, we would sit and play maybe a song I wrote, and Jeb would play it on acoustic guitar. And Jeb had a tape machine. That's what it was. Jeb had an old tape machine. And we would sit and just for fun and record these songs. And I mean, literally, I would like get a plate and chopsticks, and I would, I would play the drums on the plate with the chopsticks, and Jeb would play the acoustic guitar, and I would sing, and we would, learn to use his tape machine, and I would sing harmonies. And I mean, really, literally, it was that raw and, whatever, because really we were going to fiddle festivals, playing fiddle music and doing all that. But all of a sudden we were starting to kind of journey in this other direction, kind of, but acoustically.
Right.
It was all acoustically. Until, I think it was Jeb got an electric guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a lot of trying to remember exactly how this stuff happened, but it's not, it's not 100% linear, I don't think, but pretty much. And Jeb got an electric guitar, and we just started like, I got an electric fiddle, and one of Eric Aceto's first, I believe, and I wanted a pink fiddle, and he made me that pink fiddle, which I still play now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we just started kind of morphing into, and then Richie Stearns, who, you know, we hung out with and played fiddle tunes with, but he started playing the organ, the keyboards, and Shane Lamphere, who was playing mandolin, and Barbara George, he started just playing on a drum set, and Jordan Pereira, who played guitar, and Barbara George started playing bass, you know, and then Jenny Stearns, who was married to Richie at the time, she was writing songs. So at the time we had 3 songwriters. So we just all started playing. We just totally, just morphed into.
Yeah, so it starts with one person getting the electric instrument.
You got the electric, yeah.
And then everybody follows suit at that point.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was louder. It was easy to convey, the songs.
Yeah.
It just seems like a good organic progression, too. Like,
yeah,
it felt like the way that it was going.
Yeah, it was the way it was going. It was very organic, and we could never have planned it or organized it. Yeah, it just, exactly.
And over time,
fun times.
You all eventually ended up creating the first GrassRoots Music Festival. I believe it was an AIDS benefit concert, and that started in 1990. What led you all to the decision to start up your own festival? And what can you tell us a little bit about the background of that story?
Yeah, well, we would travel to festivals all the time. You know, we went to these fiddle conventions. We still, like I said, we still do. We'd go to these fiddle conventions, which are like, you hang out and you camp all weekend, and there are contests, you know, and we would enter these contests. But then there were these other festivals we would go to that were like GrassRoots Now, which you went as a listener, and there were just all these bands, you know. And like one of the early ones we would go to was the Croton Hudson River Revival, you know, Pete Seeger, that festival.
Yeah.
We went, we'd go to that, and we went to, and we were bad. We used to sneak into festivals all the time. And well, you know, we were just sort of like playing on the street, busking, and, you know, just kind of gypsying around, and didn't have much money or anything, but really the Rhythm and Roots Festival in Rhode Island was a big one. Anyway, so we loved going to these festivals, and they all kind of worked slightly different. And we used to think, you know, well, if we had a festival, we would do it this way, or that's so weird that they do this here. Like, why are they, you know, stuff like that. And I don't know, we just decided to have this benefit. We decided to have this concert, and we decided to make it a benefit. And decided to make it an AIDS benefit at the time. And that's how that started, and that was really successful. Remember, we had the Horseflies, and Johnny Dowd, and us, and who else? God, so many details, yeah. We still have the huge ceiling-to-floor poster, literally, that used to hang outside the State Theater, where we held it.
Okay, so that benefit concert was at the State Theater.
It was at the State Theater,
in downtown Ithaca. Okay.
Yes, and it was very successful, very successful. We worked really hard on it. You know, we had never done any kind of promotion, things like that, you know, but we did everything ourselves. And it was so successful that we were just all hanging out, and Jeb was like, well, why don't we try doing a festival, you know?
Yeah.
And we just thought, yeah, totally. So that is how it happened.
Gotcha. And the very first festival was right here in Trumansburg at the fairgrounds?
Yeah, at the fairgrounds, yeah.
Okay.
And it was only 3 days. It wasn't 4 days yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of infrastructure was there at that time?
Well, pretty much probably there's always a grandstand stage there, and there's the cabaret hall, which is still there, and we bought a dance tent, and I guess we had the infield stage, which... Now, really, if I'm remembering correctly, I mean, I think Jordan designed it, and, you know, a crew built it.
Gotcha.
But that was, so I think we had all of that there. The thing we didn't have was radios, things like that. It was very primitive in that way.
Yeah.
And it completely rained the entire time.
Did it really?
Downpoured the entire. It was a complete disaster, actually.
Classic.
Yeah.
But you came back the next year and just continued to build on that year after year.
Yeah. And we decided shortly after to make it 4 days.
Okay.
Start on the Thursday. And, you know, it's been a long time. I mean, really started not knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so much at all. Well, watching other festivals and learning from the ones that we would always go to, you know.
Right.
And, but.
That's amazing. And I'm curious, what made you pick up the cause for AIDS awareness? Do you remember what that was initially?
Well, it was kind of happening around that time a bit, and we knew some folks in Ithaca
Who were affected?
that were affected.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like very relevant to the time.
Absolutely, yeah. It was in the late 80s, early 90s, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about the Culture Camp. You spent your whole life building community through music, from the fiddle circles down south to the festival stages here in the Finger Lakes. With Donna the Buffalo, you didn't just form the band, but you created a space where people could gather and dance and feel like they were part of something bigger. Then with GrassRoots, you helped turn that spirit into a full-on cultural movement that's lasted for over 30 years. And now Culture Camp feels like the purest extension of all that, music, learning, and connection woven together in a way that really brings people in, not just as listeners, but as participants. So what inspired you to create Culture Camp? And did you know right away that it would feel this meaningful and that it would be this impactful?
Well, sure, yeah. We like I had mentioned, we knew about a lot of these camps, and we had kind of visited some of them. I taught at 2. I was never like big into the camps really, and I know that sounds kind of funny, but just that's how it happened. But we were doing our Virginia Key GrassRoots Festival, and Jonas Perrier, who at the time was probably around 12 years old, maybe 11. He really might have been 11. He must have been aware of these camps himself, and he suggested to us, he one day just said, hey, why don't we do one of those camps? And we were all like, really? And I mean, we thought about it for a few minutes, for a while, and we decided to try it. And we tried it down there in Florida, in Miami. We did it for 2 years down there, and it was not the place to do it. It was, Miami is an amazing place, and we loved being there. But as far as Culture Camp, there's such a strong Latin culture there. It's beautiful, and we've made so many great friends and so many great bands that we've incorporated into our festivals.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't really the place for like Appalachian old-time fiddle music and banjos and, that kind of thing. It just,
right.
So we decided, well, we're pretty silly doing this down here when we have GrassRoots Festival up in Ithaca, New York, where there's like a plethora of, people playing fiddles and, all of that.
Right.
So we moved it up here and tried it up here, and now it's 8 years later. And actually when we came up, Jonas got older, and basically it's sort of fallen in my lap, and Jonas has moved on to bigger and better things.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger, not better, but you know what I mean? Other
Right.
things. And I just ended up doing it. I don't know. It's just sort of this other hat, I guess, that I wear. I don't know. It's just sort of easy for me to like organize a bunch of stuff, I don't know why that is. I guess I'm very like obsessively detailed
Right.
about things, and I just kind of had been to a couple and kind of, and we've met so many great musicians over the years.
Absolutely.
To pick from and to bring and to make part of it all. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah.
This is the 8th year, but of course there was the pandemic, and so it's, but it's slow to grow, and these camps are small, and they're very intimate.
Yeah, that they are intimate, and
Yeah.
I noticed that there is something for everybody in terms of the breadth of instruments that you can sign up to learn, and also they have beginner classes, they have intermediate classes, they have things for everybody depending, no matter what level you're at. One question I had for you, is this a place for someone who's never picked up an instrument before? Is there room for that, or is it kind of for people who already have like a little bit of a baseline and some sessions underneath them?
No, it's both. You can be a beginner if you've never played an instrument, but you really have an inkling, that you would like to, or that you love. Yeah, that you would love. Yeah, there's something for everyone.
That's amazing.
No, you can just come be a beginner.
That's awesome.
Really.
And can you tell us a little bit about some of the workshops that you're having this year and some of the artists that you're looking forward to seeing there?
Yeah, well, every year, there are workshops all day, and then there's a dinner in the evening and a dance. And the dinners are culturally themed to go along with the music of the dance. The dance is a traditional, like Sundays, honky-tonk, Mondays, a Cajun dance, Tuesdays, usually some sort of blues, jump blues, kind of. This year it's New Orleans, the kind of dance hall kind of thing, and then there's always Zydeco on the Wednesday night, and the meals reflect that. And we always,
cool.
we try to have authentic chefs come and cook, like jambalaya the night that we have the Cajun dance, gumbo the night we have the Zydeco dance, that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And so we have chefs that will come from Louisiana or whenever we can, you know. So my point is, so these dances at night, these bands come from, like this year we have Jim Lauderdale and his country band, the Game Changers, coming, for instance, and they're playing the honky tonk dance. And we play with Jim Lauderdale every year at GrassRoots. Donna the Buffalo, we back him up.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my
Right.
favorite shows of every year. Yeah.
And he's, that's always so much fun. But this is really cool because he's never come here with his country band. And so
Okay.
it's Jim Lauderdale and the Game Changers, and they'll be playing the Sunday night, the 13th of July at Culture Camp for the honky tonk dance.
Oh, amazing.
But they will not be at the if we want
to see Jim Lauderdale, we've got to come a little early.
If you want to see him in this real country element with this band, they're really great. So that's one thing that's happening. And then there's a fantastic band called Prawns Courage. I can't always say their name correctly, but for Courage. And it's a band from Lafayette, Louisiana, Cajun band. And there's a wonderful, like really interesting band called Sally Baby's Silver Dollars who are coming from New Orleans. And they play like New Orleans dance hall music.
Oh, amazing.
Like funky music you might find like in some hole in the wall in the Ninth Ward or something like that. Really, they're fantastic. The singer's, his name is Sally. He's Sally Baby. And his band is great. They're horns, and they're just a great band. They're coming, and Preston Frank, who will be coming to do the Zydeco dance. So we have these bands that come from all over the place. They come, and we put them to work teaching. So they'll do the workshops also during the day. And so you have, if you're someone who wants to learn how to play Cajun fiddle, you'll get to take a workshop with someone who is living in Louisiana, is Cajun or has been there for 25 years and plays. So you're learning right from the real deal. You're learning right from the source.
Absolutely.
As much as possible, So we strive for that as much as possible, authenticity, and so the dances, and then all those band members, they teach, and then also we fill in with a lot of the great local musicians and grassroots favorites.
Yeah.
So if you just love, Maddie Walsh or Richie Stearns or whoever, you can come hang out with Richie, have dinners with Richie, take banjo lessons from Richie, ask him questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun. It's very educational, but it's very intimate. It's super intimate. People, it's so laid back. And then what's really cool is the dinners and the dances are open to the public.
Okay.
So you don't have to be like, oh, I'd like to go to that dance, but I don't really want to do this camp.
Right.
But you can just come to the dance, and you can even come to the dinner and the dance. I'd love to go for that gumbo.
Yeah.
I hear that's really awesome, and then have the Zydeco dance after it. You can do that. There's so many ways you can kind of use culture camp, take of culture camp. I just like to think of it as when I do it, because I don't know. I don't like when things are too heady and too, I don't know what the word is, intellectual.
Right.
I just in my mind when I'm doing this, I kind of try to pull together people that I think will kind of synergize, and there'll be a cool meeting of, talents and minds and inspiration and fun, a party. I kind of see it as kind of an educational party, because it is really people hanging out. It's very intimate. You take these workshops, and then you're all having dinner together, and then you're all going to these dances, and then there are people jamming, and it's just all these different cultures. I mean, we have, Cajun people coming from Louisiana, and guys coming from New Orleans, and we have this incredible band, the Byrne Brothers, who are coming from they're from Donegal, Ireland, and they're amazing, and they're young virtuosos. I don't know, but like they're 15, 18, and 21 are the ages, or
Oh, wow.
16, 19,
Really young.
and 22, and their fathers. They're called the Byrne Brothers, and they're a family band, and they'll be coming and they'll be playing and they'll be teaching, Irish music, and so yeah, it's very diverse and very inclusive. We try to, just try to bring together kind of a really cool stew of things. I think,
Absolutely.
You know?
I know, as someone who's been to the GrassRoots Festival, been going for years and years, I always felt like it was too short, right? Which is, even though it was 4 days. So it's so
Yeah.
nice that you have an opportunity. There's been a couple of years where I've come down on Wednesday night, camped behind the Fall Creek restaurant. And I know this year you have camping available across the way.
Across the ways back.
Yeah,
yes.
across the ways back this year for Culture Camp. So for anybody out there that wants to come, that's a great opportunity. And I really just loved how small it was on that Wednesday night before, and just it wasn't like it gets very crowded at GrassRoots, right? And it's such a big thing. It was really nice to have that intimate experience on the days leading up.
Yeah, so many people love, like, they come, because when you arrive at a festival and it's just complete mayhem, and you might have your own little posse, which is cool. But some people don't, they just come with one friend or by themselves. But if you're part of the camp for like the 4 days before, you're totally integrated. You're like, you've met people, you're like having a good time, and then the next morning you're at this festival and you have this whole new group of people and you feel really part of the GrassRoots community. People, I don't say this in a bad way, but not bad for GrassRoots, but people sometimes just prefer Culture Camp. They're like, I'd rather just do this. Can we just keep doing this? Like for the next, because it is so laid back. And the dance floor, like if you really like to dance, there's room on the dance floor,
absolutely, yeah.
Whereas like Saturday night at Keith Frank is the most fantastic thing ever.
At midnight.
But it's shoulder to shoulder, and it's like everyone's crazy and drinking, and it's a big crazy party. And
so it's nice that you have both now.
Yeah, you have both. It's true.
Well, I'm sold. When I get into work tomorrow, I'm going to put in for a couple more days off from work and get down there.
Yeah, no,
for
awesome.
a couple extra days.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
I'm really excited.
But there's a lot of favorite, like Judy Hyman and Jeff Klaus, from the Horseflies, and Richie and Rosie will be there, Maddie Walsh, and the Frybush family from North Carolina. They're wonderful. This year, what's going to be interesting is there's like real influx of more of like the New Orleans sound and jazz,
That's awesome.
Yeah, and horns and all that. Which
Was that a deliberate choice to do that this year?
What's that?
Was that a deliberate choice to focus on that?
It's not really deliberate. It's more like when I start looking for, the first thing I do is start looking for, what are the bands going to be? What are the dances going to be at night? Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's kind of the crux of then how the workshops filter down from there, who those people are and what that music is, So I know there's always going to be a honky-tonk band. There's always going to be a Cajun band. Tuesday night is kind of a grab bag kind of thing, different things. So I'm just looking for really cool music. And so this year, it's just kind of how it turned out that there's this great Irish band from Donegal, Ireland, that happened to live in Orlando because they were the youngest band ever to be brought here to play at Disney.
Oh,
because they're so amazing. They're just absolutely amazing. But so they travel to Ireland most of the time, but they're stationed in Orlando, which was made it so that they could come up here. You know, so like things like that, just kind of you discover each year, and so all of a sudden you look at the whole picture and you go, wow. And this year there seems to be a lot of New Orleans influence and horns and jazz kind of thing and old swing, and then. You still have then the Irish. We always have like Una Grady and James from Drink the Gold. They always teach Irish on a local level here. But to have this band come from Donegal is just like fantastic. So to answer your question, it's not. What was your question?
I asked if it was deliberate.
No, it's not really. It's deliberate just to look for like cool music for each night for the dance, and then whatever it turns out to be.
Yeah, very cool.
Kind of shapes. What there'll be a lot of. It's a camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zydeco. Zydeco is like always the biggest thing. And Zydeco, which started from our very first trip, spontaneous trip to Louisiana, getting to know the Frank family. And that was one of the most exciting things about the very first year of GrassRoots was that this Creole family that we met in Louisiana, that we didn't even really met. We were told to go hear them play. we were down there for Southwest Louisiana. We were down there for Mardi Gras, and spontaneously, and we were told to go drive out into the country to this small parish building and to hear this Frank family play. And we drove out there, and we went in the place, and we were the only non-Creole people there, and we definitely stood out. And the place was probably the size of this office. It was so tiny.
Wow.
And we heard the Frank family play, and Brad Frank, the drummer, was 9 years old, and Jennifer, the bass player, was probably 13, 12, and Keith was probably 15, I don't know, and Preston, the dad, was, the leader, and he was playing. And we listened to them play, we bought their 45, and we came up here, and we were going to start the GrassRoots Festival, and we looked, Jim Miller at the time, and we looked at each other and said, I wonder if that family would come up here that we went to see, that Frank family. And we know some people in Louisiana. We got their phone number. Somehow we got their phone number, and we called them, and they agreed to come up here. And it was pretty crazy because we didn't know if they even ever traveled or, But so then the Frank family came up here and played the very first GrassRoots, and they've been playing every year since. And why did I bring that up? Oh, just because that was one of the most exciting things about the fact that they played the very first GrassRoots.
Yeah.
And now there's such a big, they've just inspired this community. The festival would not be the same without them. Culture Camp, all of it. The Zydeco music, is just taken off, and
Absolutely.
it was just a result of this spontaneous trip and meeting these incredible musicians down there,
Yeah, that is great. It's great to hear that story. I didn't realize that they'd been here since the very first one.
Very first one. In fact, they delivered me my very first scrub board.
Oh, that's
They brought
amazing.
up- Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's nice to see that tradition carrying on when we talk
Yeah.
about Jonas with his Zydeco band.
Absolutely.
The Heavy Bone Zydeco, and to see
Yeah.
that bridging the generations now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's carrying, and
Yep.
the young people are showing up for these bands, and it's just that
Yeah.
tradition is being carried on. So.
Yeah.
So before we go, is there anything else that we didn't cover today that you can think of that you would like to tell our listeners?
Just clearly that really there are so many ways to take part of Culture Camp, and that you really can just come to the dances and come to the dinners, or just come to the dances, and definitely come see Jim Lauderdale and the Game Changers. Man, you're not going to see them at GrassRoots. And
Okay.
it's really it's really going to be a special deal. But I don't know, Russ, can you think of anything else that I'm not thinking? Oh, that's right. Don't let me forget that. There's a lot. There's a whole week of GrassRoots and Culture Camp. So, you're digging down into your pockets too. But if you really want to come to Culture Camp, there's volunteering. A lot of volunteering happens. And actually, volunteering is a really good way to do Culture Camp because it's so intimate, and you're everything's outdoors over at the fairgrounds. The kitchen's outside. Everything is outside, and everyone's helping chop in the kitchen or helping up at the ticket booth, and it's actually fun. It's and you're meeting people immediately that way. You know?
Absolutely.
And you have a purpose other than your classes, and it's a way to be there and to be able to afford to be there.
Right.
So thanks, and thank you for mentioning that, Russ. But yes, volunteering. You can sign up if you go to grassrootsfest.org/culture-camp. And sign up, and make sure that you're signing up for volunteering for Culture Camp, because you can also volunteer for the festival
and earn your ticket to the festival.
Yeah, but that's at a different spot, on different header on the
website.
On the website, yeah.
Good to know.
But yeah, that's good to mention that.
Well,
But yeah.
Well, Tara, thank you so much. It was
you're
really,
welcome.
really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better,
Yeah, you
hearing
too.
about your journey, and learning so much more about Culture Camp. So I just want to give our listeners a quick recap. The 8th annual GrassRoots Culture Camp is happening July 13th through the 16th at the Trumansburg Fairgrounds, just before the 33rd annual Finger Lakes GrassRoots Festival. It's 4 days of immersive workshops in music, dance, and movement, led by an incredible lineup of instructors, including members of Donna the Buffalo, Jim Lauderdale, Preston Frank, the Byrne Brothers, and many more. Each evening wraps up with themed dinners and dances, making it a full circle community experience. Whether you're a seasoned musician or just curious to learn, Culture Camp is open to all levels, and it's a beautiful way to connect before the festival kicks off. So for tickets, camping info, and the full workshop, head over to grassrootsfest.org. And of course, you can catch Donna the Buffalo on tour this summer. Their dates are up at donnathebuffalo.com. So,
That sounds good.
all right. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Pulse of Ithaca podcast. We realize that you have a lot of options, and thank you all for tuning in and spending your time with us. Big shout out to all our listeners in Ithaca and around the world. You make this show possible. I'm your host, Pete, and of course, we hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to doing it with you again soon. If you love what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support goes a long way in helping us bring you the latest and greatest from Ithaca every week. If you have an event or story or local favorite you want us to cover, reach out to us on social media. We would love to hear from you. So until next time, keep your finger on the pulse of Ithaca and make the most of this place we call home. Take care, everyone.